Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum. So, welcome to the 10th episode of BNS Learning Series, and we are live now. And I'm very much proud that we have completed our 10th episode, and inshallah, there are more to come. So, without further ado, my today's guest, there is a quote that says, "Give children toys that are powered by their imagination, not by batteries." And such imagination and inspiration is what I found in Mr. Muzaffar Bukhari, who is actually Muzaffar received a bachelor's degree in economics from Northwestern University, graduating Magna Cum Laude in 2006. Muzaffar has an MBA from Institute of Management Development, Switzerland, and graduated with distinction in leadership in 2011. Muzaffar started his career with UBS Investment Bank, New York in 2006. He later moved back to Pakistan to work in the financial services industry and was involved in asset management and commercial banking. Having traveled to over 50 countries, attending executive education at Harvard Business School, Muzaffar knew that something was missing. He had an aha moment on his trip to Finland, where he had the opportunity to spend time in Finnish schools and interact with educationists. Inspired by what he had seen, he imagined the way new traditional systems of education could interrupt the standardized, rigid educational landscape of Pakistani educational industry. He realized that he wanted to do something very meaningful. In 2015, Muzaffar found his true calling with the Veritas Learning Circle, VLC. Muzaffar is an ICF certified coach, RYT 200 yoga teacher, Bali, and a practicing therapist, having completed his advanced diploma in humanistic integrative counseling with CPPD UK. So please welcome Mr. Muzaffar Bukhari. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Bilal. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Muzaffar?
Doing very well, alhamdulillah. Thank you for having me here.
That's great. Mashallah, you have an amazing profile, and I think we need a separate 5 minutes to actually tell people about your profile. You have amazing accolades and amazing achievements in your profile.
That's very kind of you. I was listening to when you were reading my profile, and I was like, "Who is this guy?" But alhamdulillah, I've been blessed with some amazing experiences in life, which has helped me to be here where I am right now.
Yeah. And I think many people know about you, but this session actually, the purpose of this session is to aware people more about your initiative, that is Veritas, VLC. That's, the people who have actually experienced it, including me. So we know about that, what is VLC and what is the culture behind it, what is the ideology behind it. But I think that our today's intent is to make people more aware about VLC. So, Muzaffar, what is Veritas Learning Circle?
Wow.
How do you define your own initiative, your own, blood, sweat, and equity, Veritas, VLC? So, how do you define it?
No, so Bilal, I think this is a good time for me and the whole VLC community to kind of reflect on the VLC story, because especially given the times we are currently living in amidst all this pandemic and the chaos and everything, I think it's really helping me to reflect on what VLC means for me and for the community which we have created over the last just a little over 4 years. And they say that I mean, the best thing you could do is to have some sort of a hope, and the next best thing is to live under that hope. And VLC for me is some sort of that hope, is a manifestation of the hope which I had regarding how I wanted to see education to be like. Because it's a community. It's a community of people who are passionate about education. And then I say education, not just the academic, but the whole broad aspect of what education stands for. Just physical, emotional, social, all creative, all sorts of needs are addressed. So it's a very broad way of looking at education. Of course, the kids and the parents. So these are three main members of our community which VLC brings together. And जब आप सबको साथ एक platform पे ले आते हैं, then I don't know, my role is kind of like I'm at the backstage then, and then magic is happening. The teachers are in the classroom with the kids, the parents are dropping the kids, and they are interacting with the kids, and we start seeing that, you know, all of a sudden, like, these kids are showing a lot of signs of development, and there's a lot of joy, you know. There's a lot of joy, there's a lot of excitement, there's this buzz, happy buzz around, you know. And that buzz is felt in the teachers as well, that buzz is felt in the parents as well, and that's what the community VLC stands for, and that's what it means. It's a circle, because it's very inclusive, and the circle keeps growing, and that inclusivity is what you know, kind of keeps us connected, especially during these times when we are not seeing each other face to face in a physical environment. I think that sense of belonging, that sense of is very much felt.
That actually, I think the sense of belongingness that you are telling, that gives the comfort and the, you know, to the parents and to the kids as well, that we are the part of a community, and there is a, you know, a cumulative approach actually. So people can, you know, find a sense of belonging with that. So what was your aha moment in the journey of VLC overall, you know, before the start, or abhi jo chal raha hai, matlab currently? So if we conclude it, we like, since the start and right now, if we so what is the aha moment? How you define the best aha moment?
I think there's been a string of aha moments, right? So first of all, the first aha moment was that when this whole idea and with this approach started of learning through play. So when I looked at the early childhood education landscape in Pakistan, especially in Karachi, it was very much rigid and structured, you know, where it said that, okay, at age 2, you have to enroll, the child must go to school, and then at age 3, the child must be doing this, and age 4, the child must be doing this. And the milestones were very, very well spelled out, but they were not geared towards the child per se. They were geared more towards a very academic focus of when mera bacha likhega kab, mera bacha, like, you know, like baat kab karega, reading kab hogi, ye kya hoga. There was a lot of sense of urgency in this thing, right? So play was not given much importance. And when I said, and this was an experiment, and when I started, and I'm very open in these things, a lot of things which we do are experiments, and alhamdulillah, they have been paying well off, like, you know, us, in terms of the growth which we are seeing in the children. But the experiment was, okay, let's try learning through play. Dunya bhar mein jo hai, ye ek cheez hai, jo especially Finland, which was my main inspiration, wahan pe ye model implement hua, and it seems to be doing really well. So when we started implementing this in Pakistan, and the shuru ke hamara jo parent group tha was a bit more cynical ke what will happen to their kids, right? And when they started seeing that just through play, the kids are learning so much, I think that was an aha moment, not just for the parents, but also for a lot of teachers as well, because our teachers had no experience of doing this kind of learning. So there was a steep learning curve they faced, and they realized that they're having a lot more fun in their job now, because they're also playing. Play creates a very good energy aa jati hai play se. So so I think that's been like our big aha moment in this journey, that through play, and even, like, you know, in adults also, when I look at adult workshops, जिसमें वो जो हम लोग जैसे कहते हैं experiential exercises, and there's some humor, there is stories, you know, we connect to it more, and play is just an amazing to connect emotionally through humans, to humans, whoever the others, they could be kids or even adults. अगर आपने उनको emotionally एक तरह से connect हो गए आप उनके साथ, then you can learn as much as you have to or want to.
And this is what we see in the Snapfest annually. जब हम देख रहे होते हैं, तो, you know, parents are equally participating, and they are equally emotionally connect and physically connect over. So great. So why do you think that there is a difference in child upbringing for now and, you know, decades before? For example, if I conclude this question like कि आज से या फिर आज से 5 साल पहले से, you know, there are a lot of things, new development in child's upbringing, जबकि मैं देखता हूँ एक जनरेशन पीछे, या मैं फॉर एग्जांपल हम अपने आप को देखते हैं कि जिस तरह हम लोग अपब्रिंगिंग हुई, देयर आर लॉट ऑफ कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी फॉर अ यू नो कॉमन पेरेंट, अगर मैं उसकी नजर से देखूं, सो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी इन टुडेज अपब्रिंगिंग, कि बच्चे को मतलब फ्रॉम द मेंटल कॉग्निटिव ग्रोथ से लेके फिजिकल ग्रोथ एंड मोटर स्किल्स एंड देन यू नो इमोशनल स्किल्स, सब चीजों पे, जबकि अगर आज से मैं 2 जनरेशन पहले देखूं या 1 जनरेशन पहले देखूं तो इतनी डिटेल्ड वो नहीं थी। तो व्हाट डू यू थिंक, या तो जब भी जरूरत थी लोगों ने ऑब्जर्व नहीं किया, या फिर अब बहुत ज्यादा हम लोग एनालिटिकल हो गए इस चीज को लेकर, व्हाट डू यू थिंक?
I think a bit of both, and there is of course more knowledge also because of social media. You're seeing all over the world कि क्या best practices follow हो रही हैं. You know, everything is at the tip of our fingertip, right? मगर बिलाल, अगर if I look at my generation, like when I was growing up, right? So, for example, I grew up with like I think 30, 40 cousins, right? And there was this big concept of living in the joint family, and you know, our parents' generations had a lot more siblings, so that means a lot more siblings meant a lot more cousins, and they were cousins of all age group, right? तो वहीं बच्चे अपनी games भी invent कर रहे हैं, छुपन छुपाई हो रही है, पकड़म पकड़ाई, ऊंच नीच, बर्फ पानी, all those kind of games, right? So even if you look at a game like बर्फ पानी, for example, उसमें आपकी physical वो भी हो रही है, उसमें आपकी emotional भी सब चीजें हो रहा है, you know, there is you're strategizing, you're communicating. So just through those games which the kids were used to play, right, there was a lot of development happening. Now what is happening is that family sizes are becoming smaller, right? So so that culture of meeting every day is not happening. If I look at my kids, for example, my sister lives in the UK. We hardly have, my kids hardly have cousins here, and agar wo cousins hote bhi hain, we are so busy that we would meet like on weekends or something like that, right? Because there's a lot of, you know, structured approach, which you may say. So एक तो culture थोड़ा change हुआ है. A lot more parents are also working, like both mothers are also, like mother and father both are working. So as a result, what's happening is that and there is a lot of screen time, because पहले, for example, like you know, like again STN जब शुरू हुआ था, मुझे याद है 7 बजे शुरू होता था, there was a cartoon, you would watch it, and that was our only screen time, and we knew that's our only opportunity and window to watch screen time. Right now, I mean, and like from the phone, there are so many screens all over.
Yes, exactly, everywhere.
The biggest challenges of parents right now, right? So a lot of the kids, like learning is happening through screen time right now. Like, you know, for example, if you look at the vocabulary and the communication, you know, I sometimes see kids who are picking up different languages because they were seeing, for example, a cartoon in Russian, just to give you an example, right? So उसका फायदा भी है, but उसका challenge, उसका नुकसान ये है कि, you know, it's too the human interaction has gone down, and the element of physical play has gone down quite a lot, right? So I think इसकी वजह से there's been a more of a push now, and the best practices which are coming towards education is for kids to spend more time in nature. So for example, even at VLC, you know, there's a huge component of nature. The garden is a very important part of this, where the kids go out in the garden, they get their hands dirty, unko mitti ko touch kare, ghaas ko touch kare, all those kind of things, because that's very, very important for them to get connected with the bigger scheme, right? Like in the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
तो जब बाहर के मुल्कों में कहते हैं, if you are having some mental issues or if you're not well, go spend time in the nature. So why wait to go to become unwell and then go? अगर आपको बचपन से ही nature की आदत हो जाती है, you know, that's a huge thing we can do for our kids right now. So there is more awareness now. पहले बगैर awareness के भी like things were happening, but now because the structures are changing, this awareness is helping to kind of provide more and more better opportunities for our kids, and make more informed decisions, I would say.
Wow, that's great. And how do you define Veritas with the other traditional schooling in Pakistan?
So I'm not. So you read my profile in the beginning, and you know, you did not see I have a master's in early childhood or anything of that nature, right? And in the beginning, I used to feel very conscious of this. You know, okay, you know, I'm competing, so to say. I'm an entrant in an industry who doesn't have any background. I didn't have any godfather. I've never worked in a school before. The only thing is that I've been to a school myself, and I'm a parent, so I know that I will become a customer of a school now, right? So like the way I was looking at it, right? So my approach was a very beginner's approach. Like जैसे कहते हैं ना कि जब beginner's mindset होता है कि as if I don't know anything.
Yeah.
उसके through you're able to learn a lot more. And उसमें आपको पूछने को शर्म नहीं होती. किसी के पास जाएं तो for example like हमारे जो board members थे उस वक्त अभी भी हैं हमारे पास. And then I would go to Finman and like Shri Hussain was one of our first directors, and I would ask her कि मुझे पूछा था कि अच्छा teach me how to make a lesson plan, teach me this, I don't know this, you know. So I was able to learn a lot quicker, and then I was able to pick and choose okay what's there and what's required, because I love traveling, so every time I would travel, I would go to visit different schools and I would see what's happening there. I would pick a lot of brain, right? So a lot of my learning was happening on the road. So I was also, because I've been part of the job market and like, you know, I've been in leadership positions, so I knew that what kind of skills are required. So I would question everything which would come in a traditional setting and be like, why are we doing this? So for example, like if we say that go in a straight line, I mean, there's a lot of schools like have a focus on like, you know, like make a straight line and go, okay, fine, that's fine. You want to teach kids discipline, but then where is the room for creativity? And when do you allow them not to make a straight line? How would it be if they break the rules? Like if you create a setting, because a lot of creativity comes breaking the rules, right?
Yeah.
When you are going outside the norm and doing something which is different. And VLC in itself is a very creative pursuit, right? Like it is something which is done outside the norm of the traditional thing. So I guess I have nothing against a traditional setting, right? And what I'm suggesting, like, you know, the way traditional also used is a very evolving process right now. Traditional is something which ab hum log, like what was happening 20 years ago is a very traditional method. Those schools have to evolve also. And I think given this pandemic, VLC ho ya koi bhi traditional setting ho, everyone is forced to evolve. Everyone is forced to kind of take up this digital learning.
Yeah, that is the need of the time actually.
And things like that. So I think because of the awareness is happening so quickly now. So if you look at it now, a lot of schools have started saying learning through play. And that's great. I mean, I mean, it's kind of like, just like there has been a mindset shift, and the parents of the young kids are also demanding a mindset shift now. You know, a lot of them do not want their child to go through, you know, to traditional schooling, because a school of thought to ye tha ki haan, hum bhi traditional school gaye and we were fine, right? But when they look into the fine part and then they start seeing, acha, what is helping, what is not helping me? I wish ye school mein achhi cheez nahi hui thi, ye acha hua tha, ye hua. You know, all those kind of things. They're like, there is room for improvement. So let's give something else a chance. So a lot of times when parents would come to VLC and they say, you're not a traditional school, but then they would be like, okay, I'm willing to take a risk and see how it is. And when they see that they're happy, they stick around and they recommend it to their friends, and the word of mouth and everything which happened with it basically.
Wow. वो actually Muzaffar, I would like to rephrase this कि होता यही है कि you know VLC से तक आने तक की जो है I think struggle होती है, और जब VLC में एक दफा आ जाते हैं तो you know seeing the results, parents are quite happy, उन लोगों को चीज अचीवमेंट होती है. तो इस सेशन का पर्पस भी यही है कि you know the pre-admission phase of the VLC actually, you know the questions, the queries लोगों की क्या है, कहाँ पे problem आनी है basically. अच्छा, one question from you know the recent answer जो अभी आपने दिया, just because के I myself believe on you know breaking the rules for the kids sometime, going out of the norms. That is very important to you know actually enhance creativity. But don't you think there is a very thin line in you know only in the aspect of the kids, that there is a very thin line between breaking the rules for the creativity and making your children some sort of rebellious? So how we can actually define that?
So when I said breaking the rule, and I said like because with a straight line, come an example diya tha, of course that was a rule which was made, right? And this was made back then. It was made for a reason, right? Ke sab log, you know, there is if there were too many classes going, they didn't want anyone to get hurt. They wanted like, you know, a little bit of more orderliness and all those kind of things, right? So that's fine. I think the most important element whenever it comes to making a rule, for example, comes with the fact that whether a child or an adult, the human aspect of respect as long as the respect of the child is not compromised, I think then it's fine. So the thin line आपकी बात जो आ रही है, I'll give you a very small example. Like I remember when I was in school, we used to get this finger on your lips, finger on your lips.
Yeah.
I personally find it very humiliating now. I wouldn't want to do this to myself. Like I can walk on a straight line because that's fine. I'm walking alone. But if someone tells me, Muzaffar, finger on your lips, I feel like this is my respect. I'm being disrespected of sorts, right? So where you get confused, okay, what's the thin line? Like idhar sahi hai, udhar sahi hai. So the answer would be that is the respect of that individual, the child in this case, which we were talking about, is that intact? Yeah, or is that being compromised? And I think that thin line आपको उसका बड़ा आसानी से आंसर मिल जाएगा.
I think well answered. And until and unless we are teaching them, we are telling them about the human respect aspect, so I think वो thin line वाला factor वैसे ही वो हो जाता है. I have heard about, and obviously I've experienced as well, that there are play invitations. So tell people about something about what is play invitations in Veritas, as well as what is snap, because snap is a very famous word in Veritas Learning Circle, and obviously we actually experience an annual event that is a Snap Fest. Then there is a Snap Circle going on. So what is Snap, and what are play invitations?
Good. No, so Bilal, I love answering this question. So the way the Snap thing came about was that when we were looking into creating the curriculum, right, and I said, okay, fine, I've gone to Finland and I really like this part of the curriculum there, and I want to bring it here, right? So that was one. But then people would ask me, are you a Finnish school? I'm like, no, I'm inspired by the Finnish. Then people, would be like, okay, which other curriculums have you seen? Like, so I've seen, for example, the materials which they use in Reggio Emilia, the natural materials, which really inspired me. I got that here, and I'm like, Reggio Emilia, Italy ka curriculum hota hai. There's a town in Italy called Reggio Emilia, and वहाँ पे ये curriculum, and they use a lot of art, a lot of creativity. But I'm not a Reggio Emilia school, but I've taken some components of that. Then, then I went to, of course, like if you look at the British schools, the kind of milestones, they have defined the milestones really well, and we took some, some knowledge from there as well, right? So हम लोगों ने सबको जब combine करा, तो हमने बोला कि what are the way which we are going to be teaching the kids, right? So we'll be teaching through a lot of stories, okay? Why stories? Because अगर आपको हम अपना खुद का ही बचपन सोचें, so the stories which we were told, हमारे जो नानी दादी ने हमें कहानियां सुनाई थी, वो हम नहीं भूलते, बाकी सब भूल जाते हैं, लेकिन कहानियां हमें कहीं ना कहीं से याद रहती हैं, because वो आपका एक emotional connection होता है, right? So I said, okay, stories is very much part of it. Then the other part is, nature. जैसे मैंने कुछ पहले भी कहा था कि क्योंकि बच्चे आजकल इतना कमरों में बैठ के nature से connect नहीं हो रहे, and nature is a very, very important part of a child's development, and for their own sense of well-being. So there has to be exposure to nature as well. Then we were like, okay, arts is very important, creativity. When we talk about creativity, and art is not just for the artists. I always considered myself a very bad artist, because my house would always be that square with like a triangle, with a chimney going, because that's how my teacher taught me how to make a house. I still make that same house, right? And I'm petrified if my color of the apple red ke bahar mera thoda line se bahar chala jaye, so I'm like, I'm really bad artist. तो मैं तो कोशिश ही नहीं करता, मगर art is very important. And when I say art, so art could be like whatever you do, like if you're doing yoga, if you're doing cooking, if you're doing carpentry, whatever sort of your creative outlet is, that's art. And then of course play. Snap is basically stories, nature, art, and play. And the idea was that if we make this curriculum with these 4 basic components, every day the kids are exposed to stories, nature, art, and play. That's the framework which we use. So that's what Snap is. That's our teaching methodology as well. We use everything with Snap, and we use Snap so much in our daily language now that a lot of parents, community, teachers, everyone, they all know Snap. So jab to Snap Fest ki baat kare, it's our carnival, but it's an annual celebration our life at VLC. So if you come to Snapfest, so there is a stories, there's theater, there's a lot of nature inspired activity, there's a lot of art, there's a lot of play. So that's the thought process behind Snap. So Snapfest, Snap Circle, Baby Snap, all the programs which we make at VLC has that component. So our curriculum is basically called the Snap curriculum, and that just provide and keep improving.
I think every element in VLC is actually based on Snap.
Yes.
And it covers, all these 4 aspects of story, nature, and art, and the fourth one. So Muzaffar, we will take some questions from the audience as well.
Sure.
Meanwhile, with my questions. So this is, Sahar, who's actually asking what kind of stories we should teach to our kids.
Okay, so in terms of the stories, right? So now I'm amazed when I started looking at the kind of stories, right? And I'm amazed by the collection of stories which has come up over the last decade or so. There are some amazing, books out there. There is, of course, international authors, and even in Urdu, there are some really good stories now. Topics of Deen kids, some really and the stories, when बच्चों के साथ बात कर रहे होते हैं तो उनके साथ the stories have to be attractive. These are the kind of things which have good pictorial, they've got good feel to it, so the kids can play it, touch it as well. But any topic which you talk about, so for example at VLC, even the colors or the numbers or shapes or whatever concept you might talk about is all taught through stories, and you'll be surprised that the kind of story books which are out there, there's a huge treasure. And the kids love it, and like a 3-year-old will have their favorite stories, and they would know that what this character is and what it is. And I think that's the best gift you can give them, because then once they love stories, that will then develop them a habit or an interest in reading those stories. Automatically, after reading the interest,
right.
As they say that reading is the best gift you can give your kid, because if they are able to read and they have their interest in reading, so then there's no limit to the knowledge.
Exactly. I think very well answered. How much this word no is important in child's life?
I think I was reading some stats somewhere that I think, and I might be wrong on the number, but we say no to a child over 100 times, and only like 5 to 6 yes in a particular day as a parent, as adults, right? Because we are so used to. So even if we look back at our own thing, can I do this? No. Can I eat this? No. Can I go there? No. There's a lot of no. The first thing is no, and then we tell them, "Acha, let's discuss," right? But the no is so
common,
and so unconsciously we just come out with the no. Whenever we perceive danger, also there's a lot of no which comes in, right? So again, just the question would be, it's not about how much this word no is important. It depends on why is it important and in what circumstances is it important. We are teaching our kids the use of healthy boundaries. So right. So when I say boundaries, like what's okay, what's not okay. And उस boundaries के अंदर let the child have the freedom to explore. And जब उसके बाहर वो बच्चा बच्चों की फितरत होती है, because they always want to test the boundaries. अगर आप teachers से भी ले लें या parents को भी ले लें, they want to push the boundaries to see how much will the adult let me go get away with it, right? So it's a little bit of a playful negotiation which we do. मगर कहीं ना कहीं आपने एडल्ट को भी बच्चे के लेवल पे ह्यूमन टू ह्यूमन लेवल पर आना है, because before if you just say the no, the child will shut down and they will not be able to connect with you at all times, right? So yes, no is important, definitely. मगर कब, किस वक्त, कितना is something which we have to kind of, and there is no magic number के 10 दफा no कह सकते हैं, 20 दफा no कह सकते हैं, इस तरह की बात नहीं है. मगर just the intention, no, why am I saying no? What is it that makes me say no here? So a little bit of being mindful here, I guess.
Yeah. I think, okay. So we have another question, that how can we set up boundaries without making a child feel disrespected?
Okay. So as I said that, when we say boundaries, right? So what's okay, what's not okay? That's the basic definition of setting the word boundaries. And that's something which a child can easily understand as well. Okay, this is okay, this is not okay. So for example, coloring on the walls, painting on the wall is not okay because, for whatever reason, but then alternate here, if you want to paint, this is all where you can paint, right? So you're kind of negotiating healthy boundaries. Without the child feeling disrespected, it's if you don't disrespect them, if you talk to them in a certain way, the tone they're using. I always when I'm talking to, I try. Of course, I fail a lot. But for example, if I'm discussing boundaries, I try and come to my child's level. So I'm not standing up and the child is there. It's very frightening for a child to see an adult looking up and then So one way of the child not feeling disrespected is you come to their level. And you have an eye-to-eye contact with them and say, look, this is what we need to kind of do. My daughter loves junk food, for example, right? So we had to negotiate a boundary of what days could she do it and what days she could not, right? And of course, so we said, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Friday, you can have junk food, right? So the disrespect could come. But I've noticed myself, I'm getting agitated. You always do this. You always don't listen. You always break your promises. And you said only 3. I said 3 days, but now you're pushing me for 4th day. And that discussion when that's happening, that's a bit of disrespectful, right? Because I'm like, why is she not able to understand what I'm trying to tell her? I mean, we've made an agreement, just stick to it, right? So of course, she junk, we all know how, as adults also, whatever your favorite junk food would be, we have access, we can go to market.
We can't have it.
But the kids are showing that frustration and telling they really want to have that, and they are pushing and at that time just controlling our own or managing our own emotion of feeling disrespected, because then as parents we might feel disrespected. They're disrespecting me by not listening to me or whatever we agreed on. So when we feel disrespect, we disrespect the child. So that's what it is.
You're right. And what I think, Muzaffar, that if we need to create an environment of a mixture between child friendly as well as adult friendly, both of the things, because sometimes we need to go to the child level, as you said, and make the environment more of a child friendly rather than making it as an adult friendly. And we actually emphasize majority of the time to make the environment as adult friendly and try to fix our kids into that environment.
Yeah, I'd say, Bilal, it's very challenging, but I know what you're saying, right? So yes, it requires a lot of conscious behavior at a prolonged period of time for the kids to understand get a sense of this. But you're right.
All right. So our next question is that kids in the age bracket of from 2 to 5 are dealing and processing a number of emotions. How would you suggest we go about it?
So this is the big one, I think. So I think a lot of it, the adults are also processing a lot of emotions, and the kids are perceiving those emotions as well, because the way their world is completely shifted, right? So whatever their favorite park was, their favorite mall was, their favorite activity was, being sitting at home, not meeting friends, right? So we could talk about it, first of all, to begin with, and talk about it from a place of curiosity. Tell me, how is it for you? What do you miss? What do you miss about that? And then how is that for you? And showing, just listening. Not all kids would answer the questions. So what I did, for example, with my kids was, and again, the idea is not to have this great expectation that something great will come out. But I said, okay, let's paint, but let's paint our feelings today. What are we feeling? Or for example, if you had a superhero, what would you want a superhero to do for you? And they kind of start talking, and they start telling you a story. And in their story, they're telling you, they would say, I would want the coronavirus to go away, and I would want to go to Dolmen Mall and go to Sinbad, and all those kind of things, right? So so what we have to do is the fact that we have to keep engaging with them through different mediums, and again, when they're playing, if they're going through a tantrum, if they're going through a difficult, time at that time where if they are showing behavioral aggression or anything like that, don't try and fix them there. Wait for that tantrum to get over. If they're having a crying this thing or something, let them cry. And once that thing is taken care of, and once they're calmed down, then have a conversation about it. And it's difficult as a parent to be when you see a child in that huge anger phase. We as parents, we get also very angry. So if we can just calm down, let the child calm down rather than try and fixing the situation, because that actually aggravates even more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So do we need reforms in our school education in Pakistan, do you think? Seeing the overall educational culture in Pakistan and seeing, all other schools, all the, old school and traditional schools.
This is a very broad question. So, but in terms of the reforms, I would think about, or I would say, in the curriculum of the new world, and up to in the last three months, new world ki definition bhi change ho gayi hai. Magar, when I say ke the reforms is ke there has to be a lot of focus on emotional and mental health of the child, right? I think इसके ऊपर इतनी ज़्यादा बातचीत नहीं होती है on the mental and the emotional component of it, right? Education की जब हम education reform की हम बात करते हैं तो उसमें अच्छा हम curriculum में क्या चीज़ें add करें, science, English, math, all those kind of things, right? मगर throughout the life of a child, there are different challenges which the kids are facing. 3 साल के बच्चे के अलग challenges हैं, 7 साल के अलग challenges हैं, 13 साल के अलग challenges हैं. Those things have to be incorporated. The teachers need to be trained to be able to manage those emotions, to be able to manage, some sort of a mentoring, some sort of a guidance, because I think that's something where we start seeing जो mental health की जो crisis की बात कर रहे हैं, there is anxiety, there is depression, and I mean, we're seeing suicide rate rising as well, because everything is linked to the academic and the achievement and the grades and the ranking and everything. So, जो हम लोग education system में एक मैं पूरे reforms पर लाना चाहूँगा वो तो यही होगा कि जो हम लोग ये tie in कर देते हैं कि अच्छा if आपका grade A आया है then you are the best. अगर आप C grade हो तो you are the worst, or D grade. इस reform को किस तरह से if we can break this correlation, I think that will be the biggest reform of this thing, because competition, this is unhealthy and unnatural competition. In the real world, we train people to be always competing. And when they go in the real world, we're like, oh, teamwork, you're not a team player.
Wow, brilliantly answered, I think. It's a completely conflict. The whole life, brilliantly answered, I think, because when we come into the professional life, so we always, been, taught about being in a teamwork and work as a team.
Yes.
I think this was the wow answer, and I totally relate this, just because ke puri zindagi jo hai, we always take care of the competition and about the grades and the results, and when we come into the professional life तो हमें यही सिखाया जाता है कि how to work in with collaboration. All right, so there is a question from Zarina, and this is: what is your plan for future VLC? Which curriculum you plan to follow, like IB or CAIE or something else?
So I get this question asked a lot, and I would like to keep an open mind on this thing as well, to see what's the best for the kids, right? And given our own situation and the reality of our student body and the community of parents, what they're looking for, right? And sometimes when we say that we are tied to a particular curriculum, it becomes very boxed also. Okay, ये curriculum के अंदर है तो इसके बाहर आप नहीं जा सकते और ये कर सकते हैं. तो for example, if you look at mindfulness, वो either IB में भी नहीं है, वो Cambridge में भी अभी नहीं आया curriculum, it's from somewhere else in Europe, right? And we have brought in, and it's a very important part of the curriculum, is the mindfulness, for example. So to answer the question, we are looking at Cambridge because from a perspective of the teachers who are trained right now, and in Pakistan, and the economic, because IB is a very expensive system, and one of my main intentions in this for VLC is to make it, and when I say inclusive, I want, and this is very much inclusive right now also, that we do want people from all different socioeconomic backgrounds to be part of this, right? I don't want it to be a bubble. IB, unfortunately, right now is a very expensive system. Having said that, without calling it an IB school, I can still take a lot of components of IB schooling, the experiential part of it, the project-based learning, उसमें काफी teamwork भी होती है IB can, and implement it for VLC, at VLC, and for the kids, without going through the whole drill and the paperwork of getting certified. Because the schools which with my experience, who spend a lot of time getting IB certification, and there's nothing wrong with it, उनका focus बच्चों और उस पे हट जाते हैं, मगर it's like, you know, paperwork and documentation and getting all that done, उस पे बहुत होता है. So after doing all my research, we decided that the prudent way is to go for the Cambridge one and keep learning, and Finnish system, IB system, Reggio Emilia, whatever the best practice of the world is, keep implementing them and keep evolving.
Yeah, exactly. I think brilliantly answered, Muzaffar. And my next question is that many of the people don't take this format seriously. They consider that this is more of a fun than learning. I think fun is also good, but when it comes in fun plus learning, but जब तक VLC को obviously लोगों ने experience नहीं किया होता, तो उनको यही लगता है कि this is a more of a fun and this is not the real education, so called real education, and अभी तो उस zone में आना है, उस तरह attend करना है. So how would you answer this question of many of the parents? I have heard this question from them.
Yeah, I know. As I said, this is one of the things that would come in. They but I think, and you've also experienced as a parent as well, what I've realized is there's a misconception that you cannot have fun and learn at the same time. Because traditionally, learning has become such a, serious subject. And that is why what happens is that so many people do not choose to become lifelong learners, because they think that learning has to be very painful. Yes, there is pain in, of course, like playing outside in the garden versus reading a book. Sometimes, might seem as a bit more painful than going out and like going at the beach or something like that. But what I'm trying to say here is that there's a lot of learning and fun can be incorporated into learning as well. And that's what I feel like the role of the educators and the teachers has to be as well, because सिर्फ serious होके पढ़ लेने में, I think, or a grade आ जाए आपका, it's not enough. When you have fun, you retain things more. You can connect things. You are more relaxed, so you're more receptive to knowledge, and then you you'll be able to take that learning and apply it elsewhere as well. So learning and fun can be there. So even if I look at all the best trainers, like I follow Tony Robbins a lot, right? So Tony Robbins. Exactly. I went and attended his course, and his course was so much fun. It was 4 days of so much fun, but so much learning. And this was all like adults who were doing it. And I was realizing that the material which he did was so intense that it wasn't fun. I would not have been able to attend more than 1 day.
You're right.
So if you look,
and not only schools, I think, I think not only schools, but if we see all of the corporate trainings, all of the organizational development trainings, and all of the leadership trainings, it's all based on the same formula, that is fun plus learning.
Yeah, that's the best form of retention.
That is the best form of retention. I agree with that. And in VLC's curriculum, how actually you cover all the aspects? This is another question. I've heard from many of the parents that how do you cover all the aspects? You have told us about social and physical as well as behavioral, but how about covering the religious part and the more analytical approach and the cognitive development of the kid?
Yeah, sure. So Bilal, I think the best, one of the preferred ways of learning which I'm seeing is integrated learning. So that means that so let me give you an example. If the kids are playing a game, right, and then they first go ahead and analyze, make the strategy of the game, set their rules, and then once the rules are there, then they go ahead and they play this game, right? So आपकी analytical skills and communication skills develop हो रही हैं, and you're thinking about how to go about that game, and then when they're playing, they are also doing they're doing the physical thing, and because they are playing, they have conflict sometimes, and they're resolving conflict. Social is not making friends all the time. Social also means resolving conflict, the difficult part of it also. When we think of social, it's like dost ban gaye, acha ho jayega. No, social also means to be able to set boundaries, to be able to say no when it needs to say no, right? All those kind of things is happening there, and usi mein aapka behavior bhi cover ho raha hai. So social ke saath saath behavioral kya, how you behave one another and yourself, right? And your teachers, who are the authority, and also the your peers, right? So it's all integrated. And then the things are also role modeling, right? So for example, let's say if you start the day with the dua in a circle time, so usme this cheese be incorporate ho gayi. So humne ye nahi kaha ke now this is religion time, so let's talk about religion. If something falls or something like that, and the teacher say Bismillah or something a small example, or she expresses gratitude by saying Alhamdulillah. So that's religious role modeling as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm getting it.
So especially the age group which we are dealing with right now, learning cannot be boxed. Okay, okay, this is physical, this is religious, this is analytical.
It cannot be labeled.
And that's the role of, yes. And the teachers ki jo responsibility hai when they're making their own curriculum, they're making their own lesson plans, wo ye dekh rahe hain ki usme sab cheezein cover ho rahi hain. And then they're also analyzing कि किस बच्चे में कौन सी चीज is something which the child needs more work on. So for example, a child might be great analytically, but then the child is not able to express those things to their peers. So that means the social work, the development work is something which the teacher needs to focus for that particular child. So it's not like one size fits all. Also, it also depends on what are the needs of each child in the classroom.
You're right. I agree. So Muzaffar, don't you think that living in the society where we are living, and यहाँ पे मतलब obviously when we send our kid to VLC, there is something very different culture, and we talk about empathy, we talk about teamwork, we talk about taking care of others. लेकिन जब बच्चा जो है वो बाहर के एनवायरनमेंट में जाता है तो वहां पे कहीं कॉन्फ्लिक्ट नहीं आता दोनों चीजों में. We cannot see something very very unique and something very very soft corner in all across the open environment. I think due to some technical issues, Muzaffar, there are some problems. So let's wait for a while and then we'll restart once Muzaffar joins.
Right now, but I'm back. So I'll continue with the answer, and if it works, that's great. Otherwise, I think the recording is happening.
I think there were some technical issues.
Yes.
It's fine. It's fine now. So we should resume from where we left, actually. So my question was that we are living in a society where, you cannot get all the perks and all the very soft corner that we are getting, that our kids are actually getting into VLC. Taking care of others and showing empathy and showing care to others. So is there any conflict कि जब बच्चा basically इस तरह के environment से बाहर के environment को face करने जाता है, so don't you think कि वो एक mental pressure create करता है उनके लिए?
So the thing is that preparing for the outside world, अगर हम लोग इस तरह भी देखा जाए, right? So मेरे दिमाग में जो analogy आती है कि let's say if you are working as if you're working to train for a bodybuilder, right? Like for example, right? You want to be really strong, but on your day one, when you go to the gym, you're not going to start lifting very heavy weights. You will start with the basics, right? And you will start with how do you prevent injury? What are the rules and etiquettes of the gym? How do you eat the gym? What are the code of conduct, the respect, and all those kind of things, right? So, Bilal, the thing is कि अगर हम लोग बात करें compassion, empathy, curiosity, creativity, ये तो lifelong skills हैं कि आप जिस environment में जाएंगे, add value to that environment. And the idea to create thought leaders. When I say thought leaders in this environment would be कि जो हमारे बच्चे, when they will go in the outside world, they need to have some sort of an opinion to be able to say this is right and this is wrong. That's why we focus a lot on boundaries, to be saying that what's okay, what's not okay, right? To be able to learn to say no. And as these kids growing, one of the key components is to teach them and role model resilience in terms of yes, the outside world is hard. So how do we become resilient? How do we tap into our courage?
All right, guys. So I think due to some technical issues, Muzaffar just left. I think this was an amazing conversation, and अभी तो सिर्फ हमने शायद 8 से 9 questions ही cover किए थे, but parents are keep asking about their kids, and I have a long list of questions as well. So we'll continue. We'll continue some other day, and we'll design a 15 minutes or 20 minutes longer session once again in a day or a couple of days, depending on the availability of Muzaffar. So till then, Allah Hafiz. And I think, all right, Muzaffar just joined, so let me take him to the stream. All right, Muzaffar, can you listen us?
Yes, I hope the connection will be better right now.
Okay, it's better, and I think I was just telling to the audience that this conversation was going very brilliant, and there are a lot of questions coming up from the parents as well as from the audience, and I have a long list of questions as well. So एक घंटा जो है वो शायद इसको justify ना कर पाए. So let's close the session with one of few questions. You were telling us about this, and I think this was answered. One of my last question, that how do you counter or address delayed learning of any kid? Because this is a dilemma. This is a very problematic situation for any parent जो शायद ये समझते हैं कि इस एज में तो अगर मैं देखूं तो दूसरा बच्चा जो है वो बहुत अच्छी तरह से लिखना शुरू हो गया, या वो बहुत फर करके बोलता है, लेकिन मेरा बच्चा जो है उसकी शायद अभी स्पीकिंग स्किल्स इतनी अच्छी नहीं है. So I think this is a very common question among all the parents, because we keep comparing from one kid to another. So how do you actually address this issue?
So, Bilal, I think delayed milestone or not delayed milestone, the need of each child, the basic need is the love, right? So how do you cater or address the delayed learning of any kid? So first is that before labeling the child, and I'm very wary of putting labels or diagnoses of sorts, right? कि कुछ जरा सा भी कुछ issue होता है तो like, okay, let get this child tested or do this, and things like that. So keeping an open mind, and the idea that not every child is unique. And when I say unique would mean that, like, some of the typical age-appropriate milestones which is written on in the journals might not apply to that particular child at that time. अगर आपने उस अगर बच्चे को label करके उसको बिल्कुल ही एक box में डाल दिया कि this he can do and cannot do, I think is not doing any well to that child, right? So that's the first thing. जो भी इस तरह की situations होती हैं, I think the first thing is कि of course parent school partnership is very, very important. मगर in this scenario where there is an evident situation that the child is having some sort of a delayed milestone, the first thing is to get the parents on board. So if the parents are feeling something, or if the school is feeling something, they have to have a conversation about it. It is usually a difficult conversation, Bilal. So I think that is where, when we talk about teach all the things which we want to teach our kids, this is the time for us to practice them, be it empathy, be it compassion, and patience with this matter as well, because it takes time for the parents to kind of absorb the idea that their child could be different, and I think उस process को लेके चलना parents के साथ is a very rewarding process for the school and for the parents and for the child as well, because if the situation is handled properly, they get the right help at the right time. They will be in a position where whatever their strengths is, we don't have to talk about कि और बच्चों की क्या strengths है उसमें लेकर आनी, नहीं, whatever their base is, they can excel from that base. And we've seen at VLC, because it's an inclusive school, so we do have kids who are differently abled, and alhamdulillah, when they come in and whatever their milestone, whatever their so to say education, the IEP, the individualized education plan has been set for them, they excel, and for them that's a great achievement, and that's a reason for us to celebrate, right?
Wow, that's brilliant. I think very, very, very important question, that in this digital era where we have just actually discussed this, that there are a lot of screens and there are a lot of distractions, how to avoid them and how to make our kids more focused.
The question is, children have too much distraction these days. So what's coming from me is even adults.
Yeah. So actually, same here.
How do adults stay focused, first of all, right? Because we're living in households, and I'll give you my own example. My children tell me, Daddy, you spend too much time on the phone, because I'm working from home, and like WhatsApp, this conversation, and I'm having a conversation, कोई message आएगा मैं देखना शुरू कर दूंगा, right? उसको. So the children learn, not like I'm role modeling for them that how not to focus. So I think that's why, when I talked about something like the mindfulness, which the reason why I brought in mindfulness at VLC's curriculum was the fact that, yes, there are too many distractions, and how do we kind of narrow our focus and really be able to connect with ourselves, right, Bilal? Because sometimes हम लोग जो word distraction use करते हैं, I mean, the idea behind it is कि हम लोग किस चीज से distract होना चाह रहे हैं. You know, what are we trying to avoid?
Yeah.
And this is a question for not just for children but for adults as well, right?
For
Because
adults as well.
you know, अगर हम लोग mindlessly social media पे अपना time बैठे हुए like वो करते जा रहे हैं, scroll देख रहे हैं, ये कर रहे हैं, what am I trying to get away from? What worry is it that I don't want to think about right now, you know? So जब हम वो करना शुरू करेंगे, our kids will start, like, you know, I mean, this is a question where we have to role model for our kids to see before telling them to focus. I think
I think Muzaffar, priority setting is also important. कि आप किस चीज को ज्यादा मतलब अपनी लिस्ट में रख रहे हैं point, तो जब भी आप avoid करेंगे कि when you actually make it differ from कि what is actually distraction and what is not.
Yes. But like, you know, like please, I can give examples, Bilal. For example, like one rule which I think has worked out. For example, we say when we are eating dinner as a family on the table, no phones.
No phones. Yeah, you're right.
So that means, so the kids also know that, you know, that this is something it is, right? So setting boundaries. Okay, this is screen time. Then when you're done with screen time, then this is it, right? I mean, these are difficult. Some of the things which, for example, not having giving kids their own tablets at a certain time, you know, like no television, have televisions in a living room and not in their room, you know, things, small things like this. I think
making positive norms in your family, I think it creates a good culture for the kids as well, because at the very early age of the kids, so they actually, you know, used to adopt these norms in their life, and when they go into their adulthood, so I think they will actually love to follow this and to their kids as well.
Bilkul.
Okay, so exactly. One last question: that what you suggest for the shy kids?
I need to know what you mean. Like I need a little bit more answer, because there's nothing wrong with being shy. Sometimes in our culture, we think that you know, shy means you know, something needs to change. But shy means like a lot of time introverted. हम लोग कहते हैं, बहुत लोग जो होते हैं
introvert कह सकते हैं. Yeah. Actually, इस question में मुझे भी थोड़ी सी elaboration ही चाहिए थी, just because के shyness, I think, like you said, it's also a sort of expression. कह सकते हैं कि इसको जो है ना. Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know, but I'm an introvert. And I'm considered a shy person, you know.
Then it's great. I think that we are doing a digital show and spending 1 hour with you, because being an introvert, I think this is a worst nightmare to going live.
But though, you know, Bilal, the thing is if I'm to just to, like, you know, to come back to Chaudhry Tasneem's question here, like, you know, what do you suggest for shy kids? I think to give them time, and this is a very not a very specific answer, but like just like some general themes which I can share is to give them time to open up. Don't take that shyness as something which is negative. That's something which they need to change. And let them kind of, you know, like, what's the intention and because kuch logon ki personality is tarah ki hai, right? If their personality is stuff that they're more towards themselves, don't try and change that. Celebrate that. Rather than saying that, oh, like, you know, because yes, socially, the people who are more outspoken and not seen as shy seems to be, you know, the ones who are, you know, at the forefront. But like, you know, if you look at research, a lot of the leaders are people who are considered shy from many matter, and that's okay.
I agree. I think, Muzaffar, with this message, we are now concluding our show. And thank you so much for giving more than 1 hour. And I think जितना time आपसे मैंने मांगा था, उससे ज़्यादा ही time मुझे दिया. And there are a lot of questions even, you know, left. But we'll design some other show in future as well, because it's very helpful for the parents and for the, you know, someone के जो अपने बच्चों के स्कूल में भी एडमिशन कराने वाले हैं या करना है, या बच्चों की वो अपब्रिंगिंग के ऊपर बहुत ज़्यादा फोकस कर रहे हैं. तो thank you so much, Muzaffar.
No, thank you so much for having me, Bilal, and I'd love to be able to contribute again if possible, and like if you invite me back, and if any the parents find it helpful, तो इससे ज़्यादा खुशी की और क्या बात हो सकती है. So you're very welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Khuda Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. And I think VLC is the institution that not only focusing on the kids, but for the education for the parents as well. Myself as a VLC parent, I feel that VLC organize many events and arrange many trainings on mindfulness, on different type of topics. So I think it's a brilliant what Muzaffar and his team is actually doing, and what VLC is actually contributing for the society and for the upbringing for the kids. So with this message, I am I'm just concluding this show, and see you again in the episode 11 of BNS Learning Series soon, inshallah. Thank you so much, and take care. Allah Hafiz.